Thanks for clicking. I hope you enjoy this full story. Hi Reddit. This is a throwaway because I don't want my family to find this. I, 32M, am married to my wife Sarah, 30F, and we have 2 kids, Emily, 8F, and Liam, 5M. For the past 10 years, I've worked as an accountant at a corporate firm. The job pays well, with benefits and bonuses, and has allowed us to live comfortably. We own our home, take a vacation every couple of years, and haven't had to stress about bills in a long time. But here's the thing, I hate my job. Like, truly hate it. Every day feels like I'm running on autopilot, just crunching numbers, sitting in endless meetings, and living for the weekends. I've struggled with depression before, and while I wouldn't say I'm in that dark place now, the monotony is draining me. I feel like a zombie most days. Since I was a kid, I've loved painting. It's always been my escape, my way of expressing myself. I used to dream about becoming an artist, but life had other plans. I got a business degree because it was practical, and I started working right out of college. I kept telling myself I'd come back to art someday, but that day never came. Then, a few months ago, something happened that changed everything. My best friend, Matt, passed away. He was my age, completely healthy, and one day, just gone. It hit me hard. He'd always lived life to the fullest, chasing his dreams and doing what he loved. It made me question my own life. So, after weeks of reflection, I made a decision. I quit my job. I didn't make this decision lightly. I've been saving for years, and we have enough to cover expenses for at least 6 months. Sarah also works part-time as a teacher, and I thought we could adjust our budget to make this work. I told myself that if I didn't try this now, I'd regret it forever. When I broke the news to Sarah, she did not take it well. She called me reckless and selfish, saying I was putting my hobby above our family. She pointed out that our mortgage, the kids' extracurriculars, and even small things like groceries and school supplies depend on my income. She also brought up the fact that I've never sold a painting before, so this whole plan might not even pan out. I tried to explain how miserable I've been and how much this means to me, but she just kept saying, "You don't get to make this decision for all of us." I feel awful because I did make the decision without consulting her first. I honestly thought she'd support me, but now I'm wondering if I was naive, or worse, selfish. On top of that, my parents got wind of what I did, thanks to my mom's habit of checking in too much, and they're on Sarah's side. My dad straight up called me irresponsible for jeopardizing my family's future for a pipe dream. So now I'm sitting here, wondering if I made a huge mistake. I'm excited to finally pursue my passion, but the fallout has been worse than I expected. I know I've put my family in a tough spot, but I also feel like I deserve a chance to be happy. Hi again, Reddit. I didn't expect my last post to blow up the way it did. Thanks for all the feedback, both the supportive comments and the harsh truths. It's been a lot to process. As promised, here's an update. Spoiler, things have not been smooth. After posting, I tried to have a more open and honest conversation with Sarah. I explained again how unfulfilled I've felt and how much painting means to me. I also apologized for not talking to her before quitting. I thought admitting that I'd acted impulsively would help, but honestly, it didn't seem to make much of a difference. Sarah told me she's still angry and feels blindsided. She said I've put her in a position where she has to pick up the slack for my selfish decision. Those words hurt, but I get where she's coming from. She works part-time because it allows her to take care of the kids, help with school runs, and manage the house. Now, she's worried she might need to go full-time to keep us afloat, and she's exhausted just thinking about it. The tension at home has been thick. We've had a few heated arguments, which isn't like us. Normally, we're good at communicating, but this has brought out a side of us I don't like. The other day, she said something that really stung. "I feel like you've chosen your painting over your family." What makes it worse is that Emily, our 8-year-old, overheard one of our arguments. She came to me crying, asking if we were getting a divorce. That was a gut punch. I reassured her that we weren't, but Sarah later told me, "This is why we can't afford to take risks right now. The kids need stability." On top of everything, I've been trying to jumpstart my art career. I've set up a small studio in the garage and started painting every day. I also created a portfolio and an Instagram account to showcase my work. So far, I've gotten a few compliments, but no actual sales. I'm also looking into freelance gigs, design work, custom commissions, but it feels overwhelming. Sarah, however, isn't impressed by my efforts. She keeps asking, "What's your plan? How are you going to make money?" And the truth is, I don't have solid answers yet. I thought the savings I've set aside would buy me time to figure it out, but now I'm starting to feel like I'm racing against the clock. To make matters worse, my parents have inserted themselves into the situation. My mom called Sarah to check in and ended up telling her that I was being reckless and irresponsible. Now Sarah's even more upset because she feels like she has no allies in this. At this point, I feel stuck. I don't want to give up on my dream, but I also don't want to keep putting this strain on my marriage. I've been thinking about offering a compromise, maybe taking on part-time accounting work while pursuing art on the side. But that feels like admitting defeat, and I'm worried it won't satisfy anyone. Hey, Reddit. I'm back with another update. Things have progressed since my last post, but not necessarily in the way I hoped. The situation at home has gone from tense to downright stressful, and I'm not sure how much more I can take. After the feedback I got, I decided to propose a compromise to Sarah. I told her I'd set a timeline, 6 months. If I couldn't bring in a meaningful amount of money from my art by then, I'd consider going back to accounting part-time. I hoped this would ease her fears and show her I wasn't being completely reckless. She reluctantly agreed, but it was clear she wasn't happy about it. For the past 2 months, I've thrown myself into trying to make this work. I wake up early to paint, spend my afternoons promoting my art online, and take care of freelance graphic design gigs in the evenings to bring in some income. I've been working harder than I ever did at my accounting job, but it still feels like I'm barely making a dent. The good news, I've managed to sell a few pieces. 2 people commissioned me for custom paintings, and I made $300 from selling prints of my older work. It's not a lot, but it's a start. The bad news, Sarah doesn't see it that way. She keeps saying that $300 isn't enough to justify what I'm doing. She pointed out that I used to bring in over $5,000 a month, and now we're dipping into savings to cover basic expenses. I've tried explaining that it takes time to build a career in art, but she's frustrated that I didn't think this through before quitting. On top of that, she feels like I'm neglecting the family. I've missed a couple of dinners because I was working on projects, and I've been less involved in helping Emily with her schoolwork. I didn't even realize how much I'd been dropping the ball until Sarah said, "You're so focused on proving yourself that you're forgetting about us." That hurt. I don't think I'm forgetting about them, I'm doing this for them. I want to build a life where I'm not miserable, where I can be the kind of dad who's passionate and fulfilled, not just a paycheck. But maybe I'm so focused on proving her wrong that I've lost sight of the bigger picture. Last night was the worst argument we've had yet. She told me she feels like she's carrying the entire family while I's play artist. I snapped back, saying that this is the first time in my life I've actually felt alive, and I'm sorry if that makes her uncomfortable. She started crying and said she doesn't know if she can keep doing this. Now I'm questioning everything. I love Sarah, and I love our kids. But I also feel like if I give up on this dream, I'll never forgive myself. Am I being selfish for prioritizing this right now? Is it wrong to ask my family to endure some short-term instability so I can pursue something that makes me happy? Hey, Reddit. I'm back again, though at this point, I'm not sure why. Things have hit a breaking point in my marriage, and I feel like I'm standing at a crossroads with no good options. Since my last update, the tension between Sarah and me has only gotten worse. The 6-month timeline we agreed on isn't even halfway over, but Sarah says she's already at her limit. She told me last night, "I feel like I'm drowning, and you're just watching." I asked her what she meant by that, and she broke down. She said she feels like she's carrying the weight of everything, managing the kids, juggling her part-time teaching job, and worrying about money, while I focus on my pipe dream. She said she's exhausted, emotionally and physically, and doesn't know how much longer she can keep going like this. I told her I understood how hard this was for her and that I'm doing everything I can to make this work. I reminded her that I've been picking up freelance gigs to help with income and that I've already made progress with my art sales. But she shot back with, "Progress? You made $300 in 2 months. That's not progress, it's a hobby." That hurt more than I want to admit. I know I'm not bringing in anywhere close to what I used to, but I've been working nonstop trying to make this dream a reality. It feels like she doesn't see how much effort I'm putting in or how much this means to me. But then she said something that stopped me cold. "Sometimes I feel like you've chosen your art over us." That's not true. My family is everything to me. I'm doing this because I want to build a life where I'm happy, fulfilled, and present, not stuck in a job that drains the life out of me. But when she said that, I realized that maybe my actions don't reflect my intentions. I've been so focused on proving myself that I haven't been as present as I should be. Sarah suggested we go to couples therapy, which I agreed to. I want to fix this. But she also told me she started to think about what life would look like if this doesn't work out, if she can't keep supporting my dream at the expense of her own well-being. She didn't say the word divorce, but the implication was there, and it terrified me. At the same time, I can't shake the feeling that giving up on my dream would destroy me. I've spent my entire adult life doing what's practical and putting my passion on the back burner. Now that I've finally taken the leap, the thought of going back to accounting makes me feel physically sick. I feel like I'm being forced to choose between my passion and my family, and no matter what I do, someone is going to get hurt. Hey, Reddit. I wanted to thank everyone who's followed along and offered advice, even the tough love. It's been a rocky road, but I think I've finally reached a resolution. This will be my last update. After my last post, Sarah and I started couples therapy. I'll admit I was nervous going into it. Part of me was scared that the therapist would take Sarah's side and tell me I was being selfish. But it wasn't like that at all. Therapy gave us a space to be honest with each other, and for the first time in months, I felt like we were actually listening. One of the biggest breakthroughs came during our second session. Sarah admitted that her frustration wasn't just about money, though that was a huge factor. It was about the way I went about everything. She said, "You didn't just quit your job. You made a decision that affected all of us without even asking me." Hearing her say that broke something in me. She was right. I'd been so consumed by my own unhappiness that I didn't think about how my actions would ripple through our lives. The therapist helped me see that while my dream is valid, so are Sarah's feelings. She feels overburdened and unheard, and I had to acknowledge that I'd put her in that position. At the same time, Sarah admitted that she'd been holding on to resentment instead of voicing her concerns earlier, which only made things worse. We came out of that session with a plan to communicate better and, most importantly, to compromise. The new plan. Sarah and I agreed on a revised timeline. Instead of 6 months to make it, I would have 3 months to build more momentum with my art. If I couldn't bring in at least half of what I used to earn by then, I'd take on part-time accounting work while continuing to paint on the side. This way, we wouldn't be dipping into savings as much, and Sarah wouldn't feel like the entire financial burden was on her. In return, Sarah agreed to let me have those 3 months without any "I told you so" moments. She promised to trust that I was genuinely giving it my all. We also decided to set aside 1 night a week as family time, no matter how busy things got. The hard work. For the next 3 months, I worked harder than I ever have in my life. I streamlined my portfolio, revamped my social media presence, and started reaching out to local galleries and businesses for opportunities to showcase my work. I also started doing live painting sessions at a cafe downtown, which brought in some cash and helped me build connections. I'm not going to lie, there were moments when I doubted myself. Some weeks, I barely made any sales, and I'd catch Sarah looking at the budget spreadsheet with a tight-lipped expression. but I also had small wins. A local art shop agreed to carry my prints, and I landed a big commission for a mural at a community center. By the end of the 3 months, I hadn't hit the goal we set, but I'd come close. I was earning about 40% of my old salary, enough to prove that this wasn't just a pipe dream. Sarah acknowledged my progress, and for the first time in a long time, she told me she was proud of me. The balancing act. True to our agreement, I took on part-time accounting work after the 3 months. It's not ideal, but it's a manageable balance. I work 3 days a week at a small firm, which gives us steady income while leaving me time to pursue art. My art career is still growing. I've had more commissions come through, and I'm working on building a passive income stream through prints and digital downloads. I've also started teaching weekend art classes, which has been surprisingly fulfilling. It's not the full-time dream I envisioned, but it's a step in the right direction. Sarah and I are in a much better place now. Therapy has been a game changer for us, helping us rebuild trust and improve communication. I've learned to check in with her before making big decisions, and she's learned to express her feelings before they turn into resentment. Final thoughts. Looking back, I can see where I went wrong. I made a massive, life-altering decision without consulting my partner, and that was selfish. I thought I was chasing happiness, but in the process, I was creating chaos for the people I care about most. At the same time, I don't regret pursuing my dream. It's made me a better person, a better husband and father, because I'm no longer stuck in a job that makes me miserable. The key was finding a way to chase my passion without leaving my family behind. To anyone else in a similar position, your dreams matter, but so do the people who support you. Balance is everything. So, Reddit, I'll leave it to you one last time, eh?